Go to unauthorized.tv, made by Vox Day and Owen Benjamin. Whole new streaming service on Roku and app stores. I mean, it should be interesting. You got to understand, guys. Oh, there it is. We got our first call. This platform, allows a large reach. New platforms, not a lot of people are going to be subscribing to. We don't want to cut our own throats. You are live with Jason and Luke. What would you like to talk about?
Hey, Jason, I want to talk about the race war that's going on against the white race. It is a worldwide program.
The race war against the white race. I don't think one exists. That's why I just ended that call. Hold on one second.
I wasn't able to hear anything.
Yeah, okay.
Like literally, I'm trying to gesture to you. I can't.
Yeah, I know you can't. Yeah. Next caller, what's your name? What would you like?
Law Johnston. I've just kind of want to say hey to the guys. I've hung out with them a couple times.
Well, thank you, sir. So I don't know if you follow us, but what do you think is the most pressing story of the week?
Right now, definitely the Yellow Vest.
The New Zealand shooter thing, of course, and
I thought you were talking to me.
Skeptical evidence surrounding that definitely has my attention. But the other thing is the extraordinary pressure that's being put on alternative media right now.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm going to bring that up with Luke right now. And thank you so much for the call, my man. So he was talking about the two biggest stories being out there, Luke. Obviously, the New Zealand thing. And we were talking about how the other people in the media were actually, we talked about 4 people in custody, 1 that was just being questioned, but 2 that had weapons, right?
Yeah, there's another clip going around as the event was unfolding with 2 people with weapons walking around. Now, I haven't been able to independently verify it, but it looks like this was verified by other people that I trust. But again, I haven't verified it 100%. There was video footage going around. 2 individuals running around with long guns. Looked like it was the exact kind of scene of the crime. There was other stories we heard of another mosque being shot up and being stopped. I heard 1 individual was let go. But again, a lot of news is concentrating on just this 1 individual.
And
so,
just to be clear, Luke, you watched the entire video, right? Because right now I'm showing people, this is the Daily Mail showing that other person in custody and fatigues. And it details a lot of how this happened over a large radius and over, I think, two mosques at least, right?
Yeah, that's
this initial
what
report.
we were hearing initially, that this was 2 mosques, and now we're only hearing about 1 guy who's like giving the okay sign, again, just trolling more, just trying to enrage people more. And so we're still waiting for all the details to come out here. It'll be interesting to see what the official story breeds and what the official kind of investigation breeds and what's going to come out of all this, so we could actually take a look at everything. As we know, initial reports are usually incorrect sometimes, but it's good to...
The Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,293. Silver at $15.10, and Bitcoin is trading around $4,131. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high-availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing 1 or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, a Colorado sheriff vows to sit in jail rather than enforce a proposed red flag gun confiscation. That comes in a report from Activist Post, which says that Weld County Sheriff Steve Reams told CNN recently he's willing to be a prisoner in his own jail rather than enforce a law that he feels is unconstitutional.
The bill violates the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 8th, the 14th Amendment. It's just a very poorly written bill.
The Colorado bill would allow a family member, roommate, or law enforcement officer to petition a judge to take someone's firearms if they're determined to be a threat to themselves or others. But Sheriff Reams and others believe the bill violates constitutional rights and that it misses the whole point of trying to bring attention to where the true issue is, and that's mental health. The House bill, known as a red flag bill or extreme risk protection orders bill, passed the Colorado Senate by one vote last week and is scheduled for the House floor Monday. With Democratic majorities in both chambers, state Republicans have too few votes to stand in the way. But more than half of Colorado's 64 counties officially oppose the bill. Many have even declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties in protest. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat, online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. A school cop whose job was to protect children has been arrested for raping them. The Free Thought Project reports that 40-year-old Officer Mark Sheets with the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Police Department was arrested last week over horrifying allegations of child rape and other sex crimes against children. The Kansas City Star reports that Sheets was arrested in Bonner Springs on suspicion of rape, aggravated criminal sodomy, and aggravated indecent liberties with a child. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation noted that the crimes allegedly occurred while Sheets was living in Norton County, Kansas, between 2013 and 2015, when he allegedly engaged in sex acts with a minor, sent lewd photos to minors, and used electronic devices to solicit sex with minors. A Grammy nominee who was making a documentary on a cure for cancer and AIDS has been murdered in broad daylight. The Free Thought Project reports that Nipsey Hussle was a Grammy-nominated rapper. At the time of his death, he was working on a documentary following the life of Dr. Sebi, whose real name is Alfredo Darrington Bowman, and the doctor's alleged cures for cancer and AIDS. The documentary may never come to light because on March 31st of 2019, Hussle was murdered in broad daylight outside of his clothing shop in Los Angeles. Now many are coming forward to allege that the documentary was a factor in Hussle's murder. According to Heavy, the documentary, which followed the 1985 court trial in which Dr. Sebi proved he had a cure for AIDS, allegedly contained evidence that the government assisted in Dr. Sebi's death. Hussle, who was loved by many in the music and sports world, just a couple of hours before being shot had tweeted, quote, "Having strong enemies is a blessing." Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. It's simple. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
So, you're trying to get pregnant and nothing is working. Give it another shot. Because the key to getting pregnant is let people know you're trying, often and with great detail. By constantly announcing to your friends, family, and casual acquaintances that you're trying to conceive, you dramatically increase the chances of your partner putting a brand new bun in your oven. When I was trying for Lincoln, I made it a daily goal to bring up which position Hunter and I were experimenting with in every conversation I had. I told literally anyone I could, from teachers to babysitters to telemarketers, that I stand on my head after Hunter finishes inside me. And sharing that information really helped me conceive. Plus, people like hearing about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of or hide. What your husband's unprotected penis feels like as he thrusts. How you'll whisper possible baby names in his ear as he ejaculates. These are perfectly natural things to bring up at an office party or to announce at the beginning of a flight.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome to the Call to Freedom. It is April the 2nd, 2019. I am your host, as always, Aria DiMezzo of theanarchistshemale.com, and I just inadvertently.
You just knocked over the camera.
Well, all I did was pull the mic to me. You know, I didn't ravel them together and intertwine them to the extent that moving the mic would send it tumbling to the floor. Hopefully it's okay. I'm going to be checking that here in a moment. Of course, I'm joined in the studio today by
Chris.
Oh, that's not good.
And I'm Michael, and I'm trying to put the camera back together.
And so the main thing that I brought in today was about Brexit. It's brought to me actually by the Rational Review News Digest, and let me get it off of Jazzy. Sorry, knocking over one of the cameras like right as we started really screwed things up. Hopefully it came unplugged as well, because I'm just kind of getting a feedback loop on it. So, Chris, how have you been?
I've been doing well, I think.
All right. So anyway, the United Kingdom doesn't seem to know what to do in regard to Brexit. This is not really a surprise to us. I really think that the politicians of the United Kingdom really ought to just come out and say, you know, we really don't want to do this, so please stop expecting us to. Because they had 4 different proposals in front of them. Oh, my God. I hate the internet sometimes. They had 4 different proposals in front of them, right? And they voted no on all of them. Which is, to me, a telling sign that, you know, they're not interested in doing anything that would actually lead to an actual Brexit. Chris, you've been in the United Kingdom, right? Mm-hmm.
Yep, I was just there like a month ago, maybe.
What was your take on the general political situation there?
Well, considering that I didn't really talk to anybody, I can't say much. I was merely in the airport, transitioning from the United States to where was I going? Amsterdam. So,
yeah, we still don't have that, Cam. But it's true what they say about the CCTV being located everywhere and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. There's more cameras probably in London than anywhere else that I've ever been anyway. And there's certainly a lot of cameras in the United States these days too. They're still not everywhere. New Hampshire is probably one of the places that has some of the least number of cameras these days, but yeah.
That's interesting. There were a lot of red light cameras and things like that in the South. I haven't seen too many of them up here in New Hampshire.
As far as I know, we don't have them here.
Yeah, the red light cameras are few and far between here.
Yeah, there's we don't even have the light that cameras at the intersections like they do in many cities and states because they were taken down here a number of years ago. They did exist here, and then they were basically voted away. And I want to say even cop car, no, that's not related to cop cars. Now I think I guess if they want to add a camera. It was originally they just got rid of them, and then they changed the law again, and they can get them back, but it has to go through some sort of approval process.
Yeah, they just have to fill out some paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much going to get rubber stamped the way the process is set up. But
it's rubber stamping.
It's still, they're not on every street corner, fortunately.
Well, that's good. I mean, I guess it's good. It's an improvement at any rate over what the state would prefer.
It is. It's not. It's certainly
camera backup.
Yeah.
Too? Okay.
Their smart televisions a number of years ago were sending their microphone inputs to the NSA.
Yeah. So I know there was a TV manufacturer that did smart televisions, and they were literally sending the audio data back unencrypted at that. So that much is at least true.
Well, Parliament has rejected a soft Brexit and a second referendum. Like I said, there were 4 paths forward for them. They voted no on all of them because they suck, and they clearly have no intention whatsoever of actually going through with Brexit.
They're insane.
Well, they're politicians, so yeah. According to the Washington Post, British lawmakers who have earned a global reputation for voting no on everything Brexit failed again to muster a majority Monday for any of 4 possible ways forward. They rejected 2 proposals for a soft Brexit. They also declined to back a second referendum or cancel Brexit. At least they failed to cancel it. I mean, that's sort of an improvement. I mean, it's not what I would expect from them. I think they want to cancel it.
I'm sure they do. But if they want it, why are they not voting for it?
Because I think it's probably too early in the process for them to actually acknowledge that they want to cancel Brexit. I think they have to frustrate the people of the UK a little bit more before they, would willingly go along with that.
Oh, okay. So they haven't driven people crazy enough yet.
Yeah, I think their tactic is essentially to frustrate the British people until they can actually propose this cancel. This was introducing them to the idea of just canceling Brexit altogether.
I think Brexit's probably a good idea, but they need to keep the trade agreements in place. If that makes any sense, or at least parts of it thereof,
like the single market.
Yeah. Which there are other countries in Europe that have trade agreements without being part of the entire European Union, and they're part of like the European Economic Area, but they're not part of the European Union.
Right.
Well, the process of staging indicative votes was supposed to give the House of Commons control, but instead, Parliament tried to seize the steering wheel from Prime Minister Theresa May and drove the car into the ditch.
That sounds familiar. That's basically what they've done every time this has come up for a vote in Parliament.
Yeah, they suck at this. House Speaker John Bercow was asked by the chamber what would happen next. I can't say with any confidence what will happen, and in that respect, I think I'm frankly not in a minority, said the loquacious keeper of order. The focus now turns back again to May, and whether she will put her own thrice-rejected Brexit deal to a fourth vote. I mean, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
I guess.
It seems to be her only remaining option.
Well, what else can she do? She's put her whole government on putting Brexit through. That's the only reason she's there.
You know what the whole Brexit thing seems to me to be like? It's kind of like how the U.S. voted for Trump. It's got parallels, I think.
I think so.
People are upset and they're voting basically for something that, for the other option. Even if
let's just throw a Molotov cocktail at it and see what happens.
Yeah, turn it into a mess.
Yeah. The British political class is facing stark choices as the clock ticks. If Parliament now does not back May's deal, it means that Britain will need to seek a long delay for Brexit or crash out with no deal at all. Well, they're not going to go for that. They've beaten that horse to death to the extent that the average British person is just terrified of the prospect of leaving without a deal.
And it should be.
What? I don't think so.
It will be it'll be about as disruptive as Trump closing the Mexican border.
Yeah, but they would survive.
Than that.
It's not going to be the end of the world as, it's been made out to be, and neither would Trump closing the Mexican border.
No, they'll recover, sure.
I think it will be the end of the world only because the government doesn't do anything right. I mean, if they were to, have some sort of, if they allowed trade or they did not regulate the border, I think maybe things would be okay, but I don't think that's going to happen because Europe is probably going to cut the UK off, or UK would cut Europe off, and then all heck is going to break loose.
Well, we're going to get back into this deadlock in the United Kingdom and the European Union, so don't go anywhere. This is The Call to Freedom.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
They're the mafia. They function like the mafia. They think like the mafia. They hire people who think like the mafia. The only difference is they put on a front that there's something legitimate and legal and valid about all of it.
Well, there's no Don in this particular mafia. The Don is the majority of people who went out and voted and then put their new Don in place. And sometimes the Dons change and sometimes they don't. Incumbents are very difficult to unseat, and but their henchmen stay in place the whole time. It's quite a sophisticated mob operation.
It is. Well, it's the
have.
mafia that is so successful and that has so brilliantly pulled the wool over people's eyes that they've actually gotten people to give them their children so the mafia can educate them into believing that they need the mafia.
Right. We have free indoctrination camps. Schools for you to send your kids to.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or if you prefer clearer quality, you can use the Discord lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And we've been discussing Brexit and what appears to be a slow, long game being played by British politicians to frustrate the British people until they are finally just completely fed up with Brexit and beg the politicians to just cancel the entire thing. That's
Seems
my take
reasonable
on
to
it.
me.
I accept I have failed, said Nick Bowles, the lawmaker pushing for the Norway-like soft Brexit. So Norway has left the European Union?
I'm not sure Norway
Were they
ever
part
was
of the
in
European
EU.
Union? Yeah, they're part of the European Economic Area probably, but not the European Union.
Yeah, they're in the Schengen zone, and I think they're in the customs. No, they're not in the customs. They're in something, but not in the EU.
But he says that he's accepted that he's failed and that he is resigning as a member of the Conservative Party.
Bye.
I have failed. chiefly because my party refuses to compromise. I regret, therefore, to announce that I can no longer sit for this party. Oh, he's going to take his ball and go home.
See ya.
Kenneth Clark, a senior conservative lawmaker who had proposed the customs union alternative, said, I sometimes think that this particular parliament that I find myself sitting in is not very political at the moment, and it is confounding the general public. I don't think he understands how government works, which is surprising, considering he's in government. I mean, I don't know about the United Kingdom, but the American Congress was supposed to be a wrench in the works. I mean, it was designed to be in perpetual deadlock.
Right.
The issue is that we now have only one party that is constantly working together. And most people don't realize that. And that's how they get away with things like Trump and Obama having identical foreign policies to George W. Bush, who had identical foreign policies to Clinton. And people swear to God that things changed when we went from Bush to Obama to Trump. And
they just don't get it.
Not really.
No, it's been exactly the same every single day.
Well, technically, Trump is different. He's not nearly as polished as Obama was.
No, Obama's eloquence certainly made all the bombing of brown children go down smoothly.
Yeah, and all the closing of the border. And
he said nice things, though. And that seems to be what they really care about.
I mean, isn't that just...
Yeah, he talked a good game.
Isn't that more of a distraction, though, from the issues?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, you have these same people who criticize Trump for, speaking, I think it was on the level of a sixth grader or something like that. I was like, I don't, it's elitism to care about that kind of thing in the first place, because communication is about conveying a message. It's not about using big fancy words and impressing people.
Yeah, the newspapers are actually written for about a fifth grade reading level, so...
Really?
Yeah, these days they are.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I don't know how long that has been the case, but certainly in the 90s it was the case. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm presuming, I can't imagine it's changed.
But Stephen Barclay, Britain's Brexit secretary, told the chamber that the best way forward was to support May's unloved withdrawal agreement. If the House were to agree to a deal this week, it may still be possible to avoid holding European parliamentary elections, which are held in May. Cabinet will meet in the morning to consider the results of tonight's vote and how we should proceed. So, despite the deadline being up for Brexit, I think it ended on March the 29th, they're going to send more people to the European Parliament come the month of May.
Right. So they're just going to prolong things again.
Yeah. The continued sense of a drift down a river toward a waterfall, heard looming in the distance, comes amid signs that the British Prime Minister has lost control of Brexit, her party, and her cabinet.
She never had control.
Well, she did. I mean, she came in pretty strongly, and a lot of people supported her. It looked like she was going to carry on where, I think Boris something failed to actually carry through on the promises. And she came in like a firecracker, like, look at me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it happen, I'm so awesome. And then this happened. The Conservative Party is in open revolt. Over the weekend, a block of 170 Conservative members, including 10 cabinet ministers, wrote to May demanding that Britain leave the EU with or without a deal, according to the Sunday Times of London. How many people are in their parliament? If 170 members are like, we're just going to vote yes to leave no matter what.
That's several hundred. I don't have the exact number, but I have a web browser. I can find it.
Of course, I imagine that this is the House of Commons and that the House of Lords is probably the one really delaying the process because they're our own Senate.
This is Commons.
They're the ones with the money on the line. They're the ones who don't want to see it. They don't represent the people. They represent big money, usually their money.
Yeah.
May's cabinet, meanwhile, is now staffed by coup plotters and direct competitors. Hardline Brexiteers and those ministers pushing for a softer Brexit are both threatening to resign if they do not get their way. Well, look, let them take their ball and go home. I mean, that's how this thing works. Yeah. You can't please everybody, especially in something like this. You can't have a hard Brexit and a soft Brexit at the same time.
Yeah, it's 650 people in the House of Commons.
The government secretaries have become so unruly that May's chief whip, Julian Smith, in a rare on-the-record interview with the BBC, described them as the worst example of ill discipline in cabinet in British political history. That is such a British way to say it, too, of ill discipline. Smith's statement was remarkable not only for what he said, but for who said it. Chief whips. I've always found the concept of the whip to be curious. I don't even know what it's supposed to be referring to, but they go into a little bit of detail. Chief whips are supposed to be like Victorian children in the extreme, never seen nor heard. They are virtually invisible to the world outside of the Palace of Westminster, and their one and only job is to enforce party discipline. In other words, to whip their members via text and WhatsApp group to vote one way or another. So they use text messages and WhatsApp now to tell people how to vote.
That's hilarious.
That's the job of the whip in the United Kingdom. What a waste of everything. That's a waste of humanity, a waste of brain power, a waste of money. Smith also said that after the results of the 2017 general election, when the Conservative Party dramatically lost its parliamentary majority, May should have been clear that the result would spell a softer kind of Brexit. Instead, she made bold speeches and erected red lines. And still may get her deal passed. Her supporters think it's likely that the Prime Minister will try a fourth time to get it through the House of Commons, at which point it will be dead on arrival in the House of Lords. So it's not going to happen. I don't see Brexit happening. I don't see any of this reconciling in the way that, the British people voted for it to happen. Well, we're going to move on because Bitcoin is making moves, and we want to tell you all about that. This is the Call to Freedom.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom and the Rational Review News Digest, located at rationalreview.com. It's the Freedom Movement's daily news digest, aggregating stories from all over the internet that are of interest to libertarians and liberty-minded people. They include podcasts, videos, blogs, and news articles, and are now a source for people to receive the Call to Freedom's podcasts. So be sure to check them out at rationalreview.com to stay up to date on all the happenings in the wider world. Now, speaking of the Call to Freedom's podcasts, I have continued the process of getting them added to iTunes. I just kind of got caught up playing Smite and didn't finish it.
But it's in progress and will be done eventually.
It is. All I have to do now is submit it. iTunes is installed, set up, and all of that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I can uninstall it afterward, though, so, I mean, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Of course, it's also on Spotify, Google Play Music. Spotify, by the way, I became so frustrated with the lack of functionality in the mobile app for free users that I went to the Pirate Bay and downloaded the premium version, and now have an unlimited premium Spotify app because, and it's Spotify's fault. It is. That's why I don't feel bad about it. I didn't mind the ads, I could handle them.
Yeah.
One ad every 4 or 5 songs or, watch this video for 30 minutes of ad-free music, fine. But not being able to edit my playlists, not being able to skip more than 6 tracks within, I think, a 2-hour period.
Yeah.
All that kind of crap. Anyway, Bitcoin has increased by, I think, 20%.
Yeah, pretty close to that.
It jumped 20%. It's down a little bit from there, but
naturally
not much. 16%, I think, is what at least as of the writing of the story at 10:25 a.m. this morning. So yeah, apparently, so this is a story from Yahoo Finance, and I think probably all of us have noticed this probably even last night. I know what's going on.
What, the Bitcoin hike?
Yeah,
I've paid no. I'm not holding any crypto.
I'm not paying attention to it specifically, but if you're reading any kind of crypto news or if you're in any kind of crypto groups or anything like that, you probably heard about it last night.
Yeah, I heard about it last night.
All of my hot wallet crypto is on a phone that is now completely broken because it needs a new screen.
Uh-oh.
So,
well, if it works, you can probably still get your crypto off it. So, Bitcoin,
I mean, it does. It just needs a new screen.
Okay. Yeah, so title of the story is Bitcoin jumps 20%, mystery order seen as catalyst. So apparently there was some sort of large order for 100 million Well, hold on.
100 what?
Was it $100 million?
Somebody bought a lot of Bitcoin. But
Somebody bought
$100 million.
Somebody bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin.
I don't know if it was that much.
That is the number. Well, that's the number I'm quoting from the story. So, Bitcoin soared.
Where can you even buy that amount of
They
Bitcoin?
didn't do it on one exchange. They
Every
did it
exchange.
on several exchanges.
They bought multiple, not just Bitcoin. They bought Bitcoin Cash and Dash and Monero, Ripple. They bought like every altcoin you can think of.
Oh, that's
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the U.S. government getting involved directly in cryptocurrency. There are not very many people who have $100 million laying around like that.
There are people with $100 million laying around, especially if you're talking about some sort of like, firm or maybe a business that's in the business of dealing with investments and things like that.
Well, I know people certainly have access to that kind of money, but I just don't see it as very likely that this was anything but a government.
Very well could be a government.
But of course, the U.S. government also steals most of the Bitcoin that it wants.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical that it was a government, but it doesn't really get into the details to that degree. They don't think they had identified a particular person, so it's hard to say. But Bitcoin soared to its highest in almost 5 months on Tuesday, pulling smaller cryptocurrencies up with it.
So what is the value of Bitcoin now?
4,800. Although I don't know what it is at the very moment, but as of
47.92.
Wow, okay. Nice.
So, yeah, it's good for me.
Yeah.
Let's see. A major order by an anonymous buyer set off a frenzy of computer-driven trading, analysts said. So I guess it was a combination of this and algorithms, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of.
If it was one big buy and a lot of computer trading from other traders jumping in, how do we know all that 100 million was just from the one guy and not everybody's?
That's a good question, and I don't know. It doesn't really get into that, but this is according to analysts, I guess.
Well, it more than likely ended up in the same, wallet. Then that would be my guess. Is that he bought it on the exchanges and then sent it all to the same.
It does
wallet.
say they were synchronized the purchases, so presumably at a very specific time, and then the trades happened after that.
That is also not
trades.
an easy thing to do.
So,
but I mean, $100 million worth of demand is quite a lot of demand. I mean, it's demand that sets Bitcoin's price, so it's no surprise whatsoever. I mean, that tells us right there that the expected value of the Bitcoin in circulation is about $500 million.
I mean, that's somebody. That's what somebody is maybe evaluating it to be worth.
Well, that's what the market has currently agreed.
Yeah,
worth.
right. Yeah, fair enough. The original cryptocurrency soared as much as 20% in Asian trading, breaking. So it actually broke 5,000. I'm presuming this is U.S. dollars for the first time since mid-November. So it actually did go over 5,000.
Yeah, it did go over 5,000 late last night.
Right, in Asia. By mid-afternoon, it settled around 4,800, still up 16% in its biggest one-day gain since April of last year.
Yeah, I still can't be too thrilled about it because I'm thinking 15, 16 months ago, I would have been laughing to think that at this time I would be looking at an article about how Bitcoin had actually peaked over $5,000.
Yeah, what's interesting, I think, is that even though it went up to $20,000, even at its lowest point, since it started jumping, basically, it started going up to that point, we're still higher than it was when it started. So if you had been in and you'd been in all along, you would still be doing better than even after it crashed.
Well, I mean, if you had been in it all along, then you probably acquired it when it was worth a tenth of a penny. So yeah, you're doing better.
No, I don't even necessarily mean all along in the sense of from the very beginning. I just mean like for years, right? If you've been, dabbling in it for
if you bought in
the last couple of years,
or $500.
Right. I mean, because
there's no doubt if you go back far enough and say, no, this is still an improvement from where we were 7 years ago. I mean, you can always do that.
Well, no, but we're talking about
for the massive numbers of people, self-included, who bought Bitcoin as it was climbing and as it was going down, because I've bought it constantly.
Yeah.
But a lot of new people did come in when Bitcoin was at the $14,000, $15,000 range. Yep. And they lost a ton of money. I'm not going to ignore them and say, oh, well, if you had bought it sooner.
I don't think you have to ignore them. I think it's just,
I mean, their experiences with Bitcoin are the ones who ultimately matter, because now they're out there going, no, it's a scam. You're going to lose all your money.
Well, no, but the point that I think I'm trying to make here is that it goes up and it goes down, and we've been saying that all along.
Oh, sure.
So there's no reason to think that it's not going to eventually probably go back up to $20,000 and higher. It may come back down to $20,000 after it hits $50,000 or whatever, but we've seen this before repeatedly.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
I don't think that Bitcoin has seen a crash of this length for this long a period of time.
Yeah,
this has been it's
been pretty long. It's been pretty long. But again, if you had been in it prior to it spiking, before it started going up, you still are better off today if you had gotten in prior to that point.
I mean, it depends on when you say this is when it started going up, because again, you can go back 2 months before that and go, oh, well, it was going down on these months. Or 2 months before that and go, oh, well, you could have...
I mean, I think if you look at the graph, there's a specific period before it really started going up, and, it got blown out of proportion and hit 20,000.
Oh, it most certainly did.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, it was like $2,000 when it started going up to outrageous numbers, and then it fell. But it still never got down to 2,000.
No.
So.
Well, this is the Call to Freedom, and we're going to be back with this Bitcoin discussion, so don't go anywhere.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And if you've ever wanted to sleep with prostitutes and then arrest them, or bust people for drugs and then sell the drugs on the side for a nice little bonus, or even just shoot somebody over a broken taillight, then you should try the Thin Blue Line game, which you can find at thinbluelinegame.com. It's the only card game in the world that allows you to shoot someone over said broken taillight and escape accountability with the magical phrase, "I feared for my life." So go get it now. That's thinbluelinegame.com. And for a limited time, you can use the coupon code CTF to get all shipping costs waived. So again, go check it out, thinbluelinegame.com. And we've been talking here today about Bitcoin and the drastic increase in price that has caused enough demand on Binance, which is one of the cryptocurrency exchanges that is relatively popular, that they seem to be on the verge of not being able to keep up. Which is good news for those who are holding Bitcoin, because that level of demand will certainly increase its value. And it could be that, we're on the threshold here of another huge influx of people into Bitcoin, and that the price will continue going up to accommodate this increased demand.
It's an interesting... It's interesting. I think it's very interesting how right now I think cryptocurrencies in general are still very early phase. If we look at credit cards as an example, it took more than 40 years, and we still don't have widespread adoption around the world. There's many places, even in Europe, it's not anywhere nearly as widely accepted in Europe as it is in the United States. There's many people in Europe that don't have credit cards. So I think
that's because they.
Well, yeah. Let's not go there.
It's because they can't afford them.
Yeah, but the point that I'm trying to make is that if people think they've missed the boat, so to speak, and I think that's a misconception. I think it's a much longer trend to see cryptocurrencies go from their inception to actually taking off. And cryptocurrencies have definitely taken off. It's just that it's been in a sort of niche market amongst a niche or even a bunch of niche groups. And if you look at credit cards, the same thing happened. It used to be hotels and restaurants, and they were targeted at traveling salesmen. So it obviously has expanded way beyond that, but it took 40 years. And so I think the same thing we're going to see with cryptocurrencies, and if the trends continue as they have, I think even at their height, even if you had gotten in at the worst possible time, if you do hold on to your cryptocurrency over the years, you keep holding on to it year after year after year, I think what you'll probably end up seeing is that we hit $20,000 again. And obviously, I can't predict the future. But if we look at the graphs in history, it's only been 2-3 years maybe between where the heights were and the crashes and it hitting that height again and then going way, way higher. So
yeah, but I think the graphs and the histories are useless. I think we're in unprecedented territory when it comes to Bitcoin and its value.
You've got a good point there. There's no way to...
it has certainly never dropped off to this degree for such a long period of time.
I don't think I do agree in the sense that the price of cryptocurrency is not necessarily tied to its value, but I certainly think that the demand for cryptocurrency is pretty much going to just keep going up as time progresses.
Well, over a long enough period of time, absolutely.
I mean, we've seen more and more businesses come on over the years. Certainly, we've seen some businesses, stop accepting it, but overall,
Valve stopping accepting Bitcoin was a huge blow.
Yeah, it's true. But a lot of these businesses have also continued to accept it. And even if they stopped accepting Bitcoin, that doesn't necessarily mean we have a few examples of companies stopping, not accepting it. But we've also seen them switch to accepting other cryptocurrencies too. Many of the businesses that came on with Bitcoin originally eventually switched, especially like in New Hampshire, they started taking Dash when Bitcoin basically died. So it's not like
it's not Bitcoin basically died.
Yeah. Did you just write another Bitcoin obituary here?
Yeah, I think I did.
I think Bitcoin is definitely going to die.
I don't think it's. I said died. I used that word. It was not necessarily the best choice.
You mean when it went to crap?
Yeah, when it went to crap is probably a better phrase because it's certainly not dead, but it's not. How do I say this? It's not something that is as useful as it once was.
Well, the thing is, it went to crap on the way up, and we could see it coming because the transaction fees just went through the roof.
Interestingly enough, the transaction fees are actually kind of high now. They're, I think, like $1 now, roughly.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Just in the last day, and apparently, I guess it's because somebody is flooding the
network congestion.
mempool.
All of the increased demand in Bitcoin causes people to want to buy it, which requires transactions.
Supposedly, that's not the reason why.
Like someone's mounting some kind of attack.
Yeah, it's more like a DDoS attack of some kind with basically fake transactions or not fake Well,
I mean, it's also
no transaction's fake. It's a real, but it's such a low dollar or low value that it eats up the mempool without actually ever having a real goods exchanged or even a trade going on.
Well, I mean, it's also a documented fact that a lot of these Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin mining companies will generate null transactions for themselves to mine those blocks because it's what is the word they used? It's no cost to them, basically. It causes network congestion, which allows them to increase transaction fees and things like that. So they end up making money by defrauding the Bitcoin network effectively. And there's nothing to be done about it because it's the consensus among miners to participate in that sort of exploitative behavior. And that's the issue with Bitcoin, is that it exists now for the miners and not for the users.
It's interesting, and I think you may have some. I think there's some argument on that. It's interesting because I think if you are an individual who is, how do I say this, in sort of investing in this, it's probably not a good long-term strategy. Simply because ultimately, in order for you to continue making money off of it, you need it to succeed. And if you cause the fees to go up to such a degree that nobody uses it, ultimately your business model is going to collapse.
Yeah, but I don't think they care because, I mean, they can make enough money between now and then that they can just retire and say, oh, well, cryptocurrency was a fun way to get massive amounts of people to send us their money. We're done now.
Yeah, but the thing is, people like that never say we're done now. They're always looking for some other way to rip people off.
Look, people do stupid things all the time, right? So I think you may have an argument to some degree in people not doing the thing that's best for their own interests.
Well, humans are generally short-sighted. That's why the free market has the hiccups that it has, because most people don't think about the long-term consequences of various things.
Right, and you're right. The free market's not perfect. I mean, we kind of look at it as, especially from like a libertarian perspective, as this God that's going to fix everything, for us. But it's not really in and of itself going to fix everything for us. It's just
It's more like natural selection.
It's more like I would say it's more like an enabler. I think in that without it we can't fix it, but with it we can. It's just the base. It's the foundation that we need in order to succeed.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's a really good explanation.
Yeah. So Bitcoin surged to near $20,000 in late 2017 at the peak of the bubble, driven by retail investors. But last year the prices collapsed by 3/4, with trading I should have read this before I went off on my little tangent there. Dominated by smaller hedge funds and crypto-related firms.
They're referring to the crash there?
Yeah, the 20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal though.
It was kind of brutal. I don't know. Like I don't feel. Again, I've been in the cryptocurrency world, not necessarily so much as an investor, but I've certainly held large amounts of cryptocurrency. I mean, I shouldn't say. I should be a little bit careful with my words. Not like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth, but $10,000 worth maybe, and over the years, and at different points, and I think I've done pretty well overall, and that's even with these crashes here.
Yeah, but again, you're not somebody who bought into Bitcoin at the tail end of 2017. A lot of people did.
Yeah,
and that's why
but
the
again,
prices jumped to $20,000 in the first place.
I don't think that matters so much in the long term. You're going to lose.
You don't think public perception of cryptocurrency matters in the long term?
No. I think it's a risk, but you got in knowing that there was a risk. So there's also a potential for a very high gain.
They didn't get in knowing there was a risk because all of us were out there on social media talking about how much money we were making on Bitcoin and how all we had to do was sit there and watch it go up. We never pointed out.
I don't agree with that assessment.
I don't recall ever
Ian
saying
and
anything
myself
like
and numerous other people.
I guarantee you I could go through your Facebook feed and find something along those lines.
Well, look, we've always said that there's a very high risk.
Because I know I did, and I know countless other people did.
The potential reward was high, but the risk was high.
When we were
don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And we've been saying that during the hype.
Okay, we're going out. Let me finish the statement before we do. When we were talking about how Bitcoin was at $17,000, $18,000, none of us are going, oh, by the way, you could lose half your money in 12 seconds. This is the call to freedom.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,289. Silver at $14.99, and Bitcoin is trading around $4,131. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Takeoff with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at InnoScale.net. In the news, President Donald Trump's threat to close the southern border was met with criticism and concern from politicians, activists, the public, and Pope Francis. Trump is taking the action, he said, because of what he believes is a crisis in drug smuggling and human trafficking. In remarks to reporters Sunday, Pope Francis said that Trump and people who think the way the U.S. president does about migrants are ultimately trapping themselves in an inhumane situation.
Le persone che preferiscono costruire dei muri.
The comments preceded a tweet made by the Pope Saturday, in which he celebrated the rights of migrants to self-determination. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, speaking to ABC News anchor John Carl Sunday, said that unless something dramatic changed, the closure would happen this week.
Democrats didn't believe us a month ago, 2 months ago, when we said what was happening at the border was a crisis, a humanitarian crisis, a security crisis.
The measure to close the border comes as the Trump administration plans to cut aid to Central American countries, a move that experts argue is almost certain to increase, not curtail, the number of immigrants at the border. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat, online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Actor Nick Cannon has announced that he will be picking up where slain Grammy-nominated artist and documentary filmmaker Nipsey Hussle left off. The Free Thought Project reports that Cannon posted a photo of himself and Hussle to Instagram Monday, noting that Hussle will never be silenced and that he, Cannon, is going to pick up the baton to finish this marathon. Hussle was gunned down in front of his Los Angeles clothing shop Sunday afternoon. He had been working on a documentary about Dr. Sebi and his claims of curing cancer and AIDS, which caused many to speculate that the documentary was the reason for Hussle's murder. Cannon, on Instagram posts, proudly exclaimed that, quote, "They can't kill us all," end quote, and there is, quote, "unfinished king business," end quote. A pro-Israel New York lawmaker has prompted outrage by tweeting that Palestine does not exist, drawing criticisms of racism and Islamophobia. The Mind Unleashed reports the incendiary comments have come under heavy fire on Twitter, and accusations of Islamophobic hypocrisy have been directed at U.S. officials, who have failed to denounce the comments in the same way they denounced Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar. Brooklyn Councilmember Coleman Yeager tweeted, quote, "Palestine does not exist. There, I said it again. Also, Congresswoman Omar is an anti-Semite. Said that too." End quote. Yeager's remark was part of a Twitter exchange with a blog writer. The author of the blog slammed the pro-Israel lawmaker for calling Congresswoman Omar an anti-Semite. Yeager hit back by repeating the racist trope that Palestine does not exist. The remark, along with the notion that there is no such thing as a Palestinian people, is part of a racist narrative that has been used to deny 11 million Palestinians their right to self-determination. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
If he looks different than the other students on this college campus, it's because he's only 13 years old. But the amazing young Tyler is already consuming alcohol on the level of someone twice his age, and his talents have gotten him accepted at Ohio State University.
We are lucky to be joined today by the little prodigy himself, along with Tyler's parents, Jack and Christine. Good morning, guys.
Thanks for having us. Tyler, most kids your age are in middle school and probably think that alcohol doesn't taste good, but not you.
Yeah, I like to drink liquor or beer or whatever.
There's way more beer at college than at my house.
I'll bet there is. Your professors and classmates, everyone there at OSU says you just fit right in. You must have a lot of new friends.
Yeah, I'm just like everybody else. I go to class, I show up wasted, I leave early.
Wow.
So many impressive moments. You're active in a fraternity. You've streaked at 4 baseball games. You've broken an arm falling off a house. You've even made the wall of shame at a hooligans.
That night was stupid crazy.
That was a special day.
This is the Onion News Network.
All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. As always, I'm your host, Aria DiMezzo, author of Nesting in Hellfire, which you can find on Amazon. Buy the ebook version if you're going to buy a version. It has a much better profit margin for me, and it's like half as expensive. So do that instead. And of course, I'm joined in the studio today by
Chris.
And I'm Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
I just found out that a senator has introduced a constitutional amendment that would abolish the Electoral College if passed.
Oh, is this still going around again?
Interesting.
Well, it's going around now for sure. Well, I mean, the Democrats hate the Electoral College because it's the only reason we keep getting Republican presidents, right? They persistently lose the popular vote. But I would remind these people, that the popular vote isn't even a real thing. It's just an aggregate put together for curiosity's sake. There is no U.S. national popular vote. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah.
You vote as a resident of your state, and your state takes those votes, and it determines how to cast its votes. Your state is the one with the votes. Your state determines how to cast those votes based on how its own citizens vote. That's what the Electoral College is, and that's why it exists. It's because we're a union of 50 individual states. It's rather similar to the European Union, in fact.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's supposed to be identical. A state in the United States is supposed to have the same sovereignty and autonomy as, like, Germany in the European Union.
That went out with the Civil War.
It did, and it's going to happen with the European Union as well.
I mean, that's one of the things Lincoln got rid of.
Yeah, but that's the way it was supposed to be. That's the way it's designed, and that's the way it, generally continues to function. I think that the European Union should take it as a warning sign. But, I mean, that's why we invented the word nation state.
I think the European Union actually has more control over the individual states than we're led to believe. It's explained to us as it's a bunch of countries coming together to agree on stuff, but that's not really how it works in practice. When they pass something at the European Union level, the states then have no choice. They have to implement a law really related to that. So, at the national level. So it doesn't. I don't know. It seems to be more like the U.S. than we want to think it is.
So it's already to that point.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they like big government there in Europe.
They do. I mean, and if that wasn't the case, then there wouldn't be a mandatory VAT, for example, where each country has to have a minimum, right? You would be able to select a different number or none at all, even if a country was really free.
But even with that being the case, they don't hold a Europe-wide vote to determine who the president of the European Union is going to be.
No, that's not how their system works either.
Their system works a little bit differently, but it's still effectively.
Even the Democrats here in the United States would immediately recognize the stupidity in that sort of arrangement.
It's still definitely a system that has a national, a pseudo-national set of laws, basically, and you don't really have, if you join the European Union at least, you don't really have as much control over your own country as you might think.
Well, that's true in regard to the United States as well. And our states here.
Oh, it absolutely is true.
I mean, that's part of the whole 10th Amendment thing and the Civil War. And
I don't think there's an illusion as much in the United States as there is in Europe, though.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just kind of my perspective.
Well, the U.S. sucks. I mean, it does. You know, one of my coworkers actually said something recently. I asked him to stop by the house to mess with my cats. He didn't do it. He should have. It would be really funny. But he was like, no, because some of your libertarian shoot America friends will shoot me. I was like, wait a minute. None of my friends are all like America anything.
No, he's thinking of the conservatives.
Yeah, we are not fans of America. And nobody's going to shoot you anyway. I would imagine that somebody just stopping by the house would probably not get shot, you know?
Yeah. Probably not. The cats aren't going to shoot you.
No, he joked about that, though. He was like, even your cats would probably shoot me. I was like, well, they might. They're a bit weird.
You know, your cats will probably run and hide.
They will, yeah. The amendment introduced by Senator Brian Schatz. What an unfortunate last name. Wow, that poor guy. Can you imagine what middle school and high school were like for this guy?
Yeah, that's probably why he's in politics.
Yeah, I was about to say that's probably why he craves power so much.
Anyway,
over other people.
He's unveiled a constitutional amendment to abolish the Electoral College and allow for the election of presidents by popular vote. And, of course, Republicans are against it, and, of course, Democrats are for it.
Of course.
Because, and Republicans like saying, well, look, you have this huge amount of land, and you just got these 2 coastal areas that are populated by Democrats, but you got everything in between that is just basically all red. I was like, yeah, but see, it does that. Now you're making the argument that because you live in a rural area, you should have more authority over the situation than these people who live in more populated areas. So I see both sides of the argument, but I'm still going to stick with the position that we should consider ourselves citizens of our states first and citizens of the United States second and citizens of your county and your city above those.
I don't understand why we have to have laws at a national level to the degree that we have them. Why is it not that each individual state passes its own laws, and if they wish, and they do sometimes, they can base it off, a particular law or adopt another state's laws. That way, there can be some consistency amongst states to a great degree without actually having you have to do this.
Well, I think originally that was the plan.
Right.
Yeah, that was the idea.
It was definitely the plan originally.
But these southern states were like, we want our slaves.
There are these people who seem to insist that it has to be done at a national level and force
authoritarians.
Force both the Republicans and the Democrats, I would say, do
absolutely.
this.
They're both authoritarians.
Force their beliefs on other groups of people that don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And there's not really a need for this. It's just...
Yeah, leave people alone.
It's just wrong.
It is. And that was, Trump actually said some conservative things during his 60 Minutes interview shortly before he actually assumed the White House. And one of the things he said was, I don't want to ban abortion at the federal level. I want to turn it over to the states. So if one state wants to ban it, they can ban it. And if somebody wants an abortion, they can go to another state. And I could hear the Democrats hearing this just frothing in rage that, oh no, someone might have to drive to a neighboring state in order to get an abortion.
I think that system works so long as there is the concept at a level everywhere that you have the right to leave, and under all circumstances, basically. So you murder somebody, you shouldn't do that. But if you do, just to be clear, you should have the right to leave. And not face the consequences essentially within that state. I think that's a much better system, and that's actually more how the system used to work too in this country, in the United States at one time.
Yeah, interstate extradition used to be a bigger problem than it is now. Now it's just a given. If you kill somebody in one state, they're going to turn you over to the police department in the other state.
Yeah. Well, back then it was a whole lot harder to actually physically move somebody from one state to another.
Yeah, what I find disturbing is that your state should be, I feel, protecting you as a citizen of that state. But
absolutely,
the politicians don't, they don't see things that way. they want to be able to get their hands on, essentially their own enemies that have kind of left for another state.
Yeah. It's
Whoever they want.
It's definitely
They want
a mess.
revenge.
And that's what it all boils down to. Trump was the Republicans' revenge for Obama, and Obama was the Democrats' revenge for Bush. And in 2020, Bernie Sanders or Cortez or somebody is going to be Democrats' punishment for Trump.
Joe Biden.
This is the Call to Freedom, and we're going to be back with more of this discussion, so don't go anywhere.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
But first, our parenting expert, Rebecca McCallum, is here with some advice.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Rebecca. Now, Rebecca runs a popular parenting blog called Mom Magic.
That's right. It's about the everyday parenting choices that could make a big difference on our children.
Rebecca, I read the blog a lot. My first question is, who the hell do you think you are telling me how to raise my kids?
I have a degree in early childhood education, but my greatest education has been raising 3 beautiful kids of my own.
Okay, Rebecca, what other bullshit do you have the nerve to share with us this morning?
I talk about this in my book, and it does take a lot of effort, but parents really should teach their child a second language. My daughter Hazel and I are learning French together.
Wow, I'll bet a lot of moms watching right now are thinking, you.
Well, I get that a lot, but the window during which language acquisition skills are at their peak is really
whatever.
very small.
I wish I had done that. You win, but guess what I just remembered? You're not my boss.
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Tent approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
back. This is the Call to Freedom. And as always, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or if you prefer clearer quality, you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And you can join the chat there where they regularly talk about cryptocurrency, what happens to be on air, gaming. There's a general discussion room. You wouldn't know it, because the On Air Now room has just sort of become the general discussion room. I didn't even know there was a general discussion room still until...
there still is.
Yeah, like the other days, one of the guys who called into the show was actually posting in there trying to get our attention, and I didn't even know it was there anymore.
We don't usually watch that room during the show, so...
No, we do watch the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat, so you can find us at twitch.lrn.fm, or you can find us on YouTube by searching for Aria DiMezzo. 7 subscribers away from actually naming that to youtube.com/anarchistshemale, which probably won't get to stay that way for long, but that's YouTube. But we're joined now by Rev, who wants to call in and discuss some trans topics. Rev, what's on your mind? Hold on.
I got to stop, but I've been drinking, and I wanted to a lot of whiskey here, and I wanted to tell Aria. I wanted to have Aria gets off on getting disagreed with. You understand? She's like a typical trans. She likes being choked and beaten. So I wanted to do it one more time with trans issues. Yeah.
I actually do not like being choked and beaten. Actually,
she told me. You should do it to her, Michael. She'd like it. No, go ahead. Live on air. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is not that kind of show.
Actually, relationship violence, even when it's consensual, relationship violence is kind of a red button for me, because I grew up watching my mother get the hell beaten out of her by alcoholics. So that's something I don't have a lot of patience for. It is really not a good topic to joke. Stop.
Oh, no,
it's really not a good topic to joke around with me about, Rev.
Okay, sorry. See, everything, it's okay. It gets serious. I get serious on some stuff, too. Look, let's get down to it. All right, so last time it was, okay, here's my thesis real quick, right? Why transgenderism helps to ruin lives.
That sounds like the title. That's not the thesis. Let's hear the thesis. Why does transgenderism ruin lives?
Yes, ma'am. So, and I say this with the utmost respect to Aria, who even a lot of the Nazis think highly of. Anyway, so how does it help ruin lives, right?
I don't know how to feel about that.
Hey, they were all leftists at one point, just like me. Anyway, so how does it help ruin lives? Well, it helps ruin lives because it gives trans people, and I'll make sure to look out for you talking so you don't yell at me, it gives trans people a false sense of identity validation in the modern normal world, whereas they may have unique identities. They may be gender variant, and there may be nothing inherently wrong with that. However, because of modern emphasis on drugs, on surgery, on if you don't do this, you'll die, it's a ticking time bomb, the suicides, this and that, and social pressures, you're helping to drive trans youth or gender variant youth towards suicide. And you're playing right into the hand of an elitist group of buttholes that we won't mention that belong to a certain tribe. So go ahead.
Okay, good. Because you started out making a really good point there that a lot of people, they go, oh, well, I'm trans now, and they lose their own individualism, their own individual identity to that label, to that categorization. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. You excuse me, whiskey. You succinctly summarized it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so the issue there is with collectivism. The issue there is with individuals refusing to recognize their own individuality because they feel safer by just blending into the crowd of these other people with whom they share superficial characteristics. And we see the exact same tendency among the alt-right of people banding together on the basis of their skin color instead of being trans. Or people on the left who band together because of their skin color. So, I mean, the issue is collectivism and a person not being willing to embrace their own individuality, which, as Nietzsche observed, is an act of tremendous strength and courage.
How much of the world do you think you could take over, you and your ilk, with your little individualism as nice and well-meaning as it is, and Michael and Chris, feel free to jump in anytime as well, your individualism is atomized and borderline autistic when it comes to looking at groupthink at best. And this is why communist scum or Nazis, some of whom are scum, or leftists or whoever, will always rise above you, quote, libertarians, which I used to be one of. And I respect you, and I like a lot of what you believe, but some of your stuff is autistic. So can we talk really quickly about trans issues regarding the brain makeup and permutations? And can we talk about the disgusting hormones and the surgery they're encouraging young people to mutilate their genitals?
What is with your hatred towards autistic people, huh?
I don't hate autism. Well, I do hate a lot of autism.
You just used autism in a disparaging way. It does seem like you're very much anti-autism.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this autistic.
People.
Why are you calling us autistic here?
Are there?
Well, he's probably right about
that. Are there somewhat Rain Man and the very few people like that in real life? It's an old movie, young people. Those people are geniuses in some ways, but they are retarded socially. Can they help that? No, I don't think a lot of them can. Like transgenderism, should we encourage that in our youth and in our race to destroy it and replace it with lower IQ brown scum? No.
We should probably encourage it to the extent that we encourage a black person to be black. Or a white person to be white.
Encourage autism, Christopher?
I don't think you...
Are you saying to encourage...
Rev, chill out. I think you missed the point he was making. I think Chris was referring to encouraging people to pursue things like transgenderism and things like that, correct?
Yeah.
You weren't saying encourage people to be autistic because that's not a choice either.
The whole idea is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. You are who you are, right?
Not,
so
wherever they are. People are what they are.
You believe that because of Marxist Jays that...
Marxist?
And I'm an LGBTQ...
Yeah, okay, so hold on. Let's back up for a moment.
What have you been smoking, and do you have any left?
So
I've just been drinking Jim Beam because the first time I had off in 10 years. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so you're okay with the genderqueer thing, right?
I am okay. Yes, I am okay with gender variance, including some like cross-dressing, like what you do, as long as it does not affect the race as a major component, as long as it does not get mainstreamed, even my own behavior, like the beach or what I wear or whatever, which you won't get into, so long as it does not undermine the race and does not deny biology, yes.
Okay, time out. Do you really want me reproducing?
Is he serious?
He is.
You have a higher intellect than it betrays with some of your infantile arguments. You people, all three of you.
Okay, Rev, chill out for a second. This is interesting. We definitely have to continue this discussion because there's a lot of really confusing things being said right now, and I'm once again going to have to address the individualism and the atomization of individuals argument when we get back. This is the Call to Freedom.
This is a special alert for business owners, consultants, coaches, folks planning retirement, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is saving and investing to build a financial future. You are likely aware that financial privacy for most people has recently died a miserable death. And let's face it, without privacy, there really is no security, is there? Bankrupt governments and banks on the verge of collapse are perhaps the biggest threat to your financial future today. The Lighthouse Law Club recognizes this and has been working diligently to provide safe, secure, and productive tools to ensure your privacy, your financial security, and your future financial well-being, despite the catastrophes which many people fear are looming ahead of us. Find out more with a variety of free videos on the YouTube channel for Lighthouse Law Club. Just search YouTube for Lighthouse Law Club and secure your future today.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm gonna tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm gonna tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
All right, welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom, and that song you're hearing now is one of mine. You can find it. Oh, actually, no, you can't. I actually deleted that SoundCloud account today because they wouldn't just let me change the URL. So the new URL will be soundcloud.com/Aria DiMezzo, but it's not actually there right now. But we've been having there is a URL there right now, but it's user 90873343 blah 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 because I haven't configured it yet. But we're joined via telephone by Rev, who has called into the show rather frequently, and who today is drunk. No biggie. No judgment here. I like not being 100% sober myself. The question is, what about trans people is bothering you so much as opposed to genderqueer people? Oh, and I got you muted, so you can actually answer that.
Oh, come on, Aria.
So, did we flip over to him? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, Rev.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So, the question that I have is, why is being genderqueer or being gender variant okay, but people who are gender variant in a different way, it's not okay? Because, I mean, I am open and totally straightforward about the fact that I am not a woman, right? I use they when referring to women. That's one of the reasons I call myself a she-male, right? So that to me is a gender variant.
Right. your honesty and your lack of kind of socially produced shame or whatnot is one of the odd things that endears you to even some of the Nazis, quote, that I know. Moving on from you into the question you asked me, why is transgenderism or transsexualism worse than or bad compared to simple natural gender variants? Well, it is therein, my dear, natural. And not only is it that, because you can go back and forth about silicone implants or whatever, right? The real issue I have with it is it's biologically self-hating. You are given a body by nature or by God or by your parents having sex or whoever, whatever thing you believe in. I'm anti-theistic myself, having been raised Catholicus 9 years, Catholic school, Gloria in Excelsis Deo, and all that garbage. I'm an atheist. I'm a racist.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Just get back to your point.
Oh, yeah. So the point is that the reason is that transgenderism, as we know it, which is really transsexualism, because it involves the idea that one can transcend sex, is self-hating to one's own biology.
No, that's not the distinction between transgenderism and transsexualism, not strictly speaking. Transgenderism is adopting the gender norms of the other sex, that is not one's birth sex. Transsexualism is adopting the sexual characteristics of the other sex.
Is it not all sexual, Aria? How are we defining sex? We're getting into semantical nothings like if an egg exists.
We are not getting into semantical nothings. Even you have conceded that there is a difference between gender and sex.
Yes.
Okay,
now,
so it
now.
would, okay, right. They were once treated as synonyms. So it would follow then that there is a difference between transgenderism and transsexualism.
I suppose you could make that argument, just like I could say it's all technically gender variant, but it'd be a gender variant that I don't like. So, for instance, people might wonder, what are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that are some people, very few, good candidates, arguably based on their bone structure, on their biology, on whatever, for hormones? Do they have the kind of hips of a woman or vice versa? Are they a more wide-shouldered man that would make a good...
Are there not ugly women out there?
There are, but...
That's not the point.
It's not just not the point.
That's not how it works.
Factually... It's not even wrong, Rev. It's not even wrong. It's just so off the wall. It is the presence of these hormones that causes things like fat hips and breasts and things like that. What you're essentially arguing is that a person should only be allowed to go on hormone therapy if their hormones are already imbalanced toward the side they want to, transition to. In which case, the hormone replacement therapy isn't necessary in the first place.
I think they would best be suited for that. So really quickly, in my idea of, like Cantwell would say, an ethnostate, right? My idea of a sectarian monarchy, the Jim Beam monarchy, right? I would allow a certain amount of blacks. I would allow a certain amount of JEWs. Because I've dated some of these people, and I've been cool with some of these people. I lived in a very multicultural household growing up, so it's weird now that I'm closer to a fascist than a libertarian, even as an LGBTQ individual myself. And I hate that label.
It is a little weird, yes.
I want to know something. Are you against women having breast implants?
No, I think personally it's tasteless, but I don't think, Chris, that I have a right to say you can't do this to your own body. And that's kind of where I stand with the trans. It's just my own issue with it,
Okay.
So you have an issue with one, but not the other.
I have an issue in general with, like, fake things, but I understand that some people are genetically not given the certain curves or whatever that other people are, which is, again, random occurrence. So I understand that. I personally may find it distasteful, but there are things about me that many people might find distasteful as well.
Is he saying he finds both distasteful? And equally or not?
To be fair, I don't give a crap what you find distasteful, as long as you don't attempt to pass legislation that is going to prevent me from doing the things that I want to do.
It just seems like a really bizarre stance.
I would not do that.
If he has an issue with one but not the other.
Well, I mean, I think
because he said before that he thinks it's wrong to like change your body unless your body's already that way or something.
Well, he said that he ceded the point that women getting breast implants he also found to be wrong.
Okay. So he is consistent on that.
I may find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about my
I'm sorry.
tattoos, Rev?
Yeah,
Because I mean that's body
I'm
modification.
a tattooed.
If you're against body
I'm a
modification,
tattooed-
then why do you have tattoos?
Right. I'm a tattooed hoe as well, honey. I'm saying in my sectarian, monarchist, libertine, right-wing state that is a cross between libertarianism and Nazi fascism, right, you can laugh, but if it came to fruition, stick Heil to that. But the point is, would I allow personally, and I don't even want to be the monarch, but would I want my monarch for that given region of Florida or wherever, right, to allow a certain amount of blacks, a certain amount of trans? Yeah, I think there are good people in the black and the trans, even in the Jewish world. I dated a hot little Jewish girl when I was younger. So I'm not saying they're all scum, but a lot of them are scum for my given, I got to be careful what I say in the air.
You know, as I pointed out in Shimo versus Nazi, the issue that you and the alt-right in general are taking with these demographics that you find to be problematic in many cases is their political disposition, and they're leaning toward leftism. Your issue is with progressivism and leftivism. It's not with any of these actual characteristics. It's not with people being trans. It's with the fact that trans people are overwhelmingly democratic.
It's not. It is with them being trans to an extent. So if we allowed a small amount of like Cassandra Cass or somebody like that, who I think is a beautiful, hot-looking tranny. Now, knowing what's going on in her nether regions, that's kind of ugh. But it's whatever, right? Maybe she doesn't like what I wear on the beach or something, so it's whatever. The point is, when that gets to the point, like Cantwell said, and I'm not a Cantwell fan anymore, as you know, but I'm not going to keep talking about the guy. The point is, like Cantwell said, when 3-year-olds are being taught by drag queens, and one of whom was an actual child rapist, which Alex Jones, even though he's a fat bag of garbage that we won't talk about, total liar, he did shed light to that fact. So when 3-year-olds are being taught, you can be gay, you can be trans, when these little kids, these little humans are trying to figure out why does mommy have to go to work and how to speak, that is destroying our race. That is postulated by the JEWs, and you know it, Aria.
I do not know it, but we're going to continue on with this just a bit further, so stick with us just a little bit more, Rev, because there's a lot that you just said that needs to be addressed. I don't really have a problem with 3-year-olds being told that they can be gay or that they can be trans or that they can be anything they want to be. This is the Call to Freedom.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom, and as always, I'd like to remind you that our podcasts have moved and are no longer being updated to Spreaker. They can instead be found at Podbean at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. They can also be found on Google Play Music and Spotify by searching for the Call to Freedom. And they, by the end of the night, will have been submitted. Finally, it was about a month and a half later that I actually got to it, so the prediction was correct, or relatively correct anyway. They will be on iTunes. So if you want to stay recent on the show, you'll need to go to calltofreedomlive.podbean.com or use the RSS feed, which is the same URL with /feed.xml. Now, we've been having a discussion with Rev, who has a bone to pick with transgender people. But before we get into any of that, he briefly alluded to Shemale versus Nazi and what he was categorizing as autistic arguments for me in regard to individualism and eggs not existing. Now, if you haven't seen Shemale versus Nazi, you should watch it. When I stopped at Corner News earlier today, the owner there actually mentioned it to me. It was really nice.
The owner there watched the Shemale versus Nazi.
She did.
Oh, my.
So you should definitely check it out. It's also by far our most listened to podcast. But I mean, that's not surprising. I mean,
I did want to get back to this because I really want to hear from Rev why he thinks autistic is some kind of insult.
Well, before we get into that, I want to address the reason that he was calling me autistic was because when I sat down with Christopher Cantwell, we got into the topic of eggs because they're a great example. You know, we say, I'm going to buy a carton of eggs, but you're not actually buying a carton of eggs. There isn't any such thing, right? You're buying a container and you're buying 12 individual eggs. And because it's simpler, we have this communication construct called groups. And it gets into mathematics and set theory and things like that. But basically, no, a forest is not a real thing. The trees within that forest are real things, right? But you can break that down even further to the subatomic level and say that, even individuals aren't real things because they break down into these constituent components. And there's truth to that. The distinction between the group expressing a will and an individual expressing a will is that the individual's is directed and conscious. The group has no consciousness with which to express its will. Even if, we here at the show can express a will to produce a show here collectively, there's no consciousness acting to direct that.
True.
There is, but it's three individuals. And that comes back to the relevance of the individual, is that the individual has consciousness. But no, a lot of that went over Christopher Cantwell and the people saying, how are you just going to say that eggs don't exist? They are the modern equivalent of people staring at the sun in the sky going, no, clearly the sun orbits the earth because that's what I see with my eyes, and my eyes would never lie to me. But they are lying to you. All of your senses are lying to you, and we know this scientifically to be the case. That egg is not a real thing. It's a collection of molecules and atoms that you simply can't see and can't feel and can't hear and can't otherwise interact with without extremely specialized equipment. That is how the world actually is. Now, I realize that most people have this fictitious idea in their heads about what the world is, right? Because they base it on how they perceive it, just like people base their perception of the structure of the universe on watching the sun go across the sky and concluding that the sun orbited the earth. But just as they are wrong, so are the people who are now like, no, this egg is totally real because I can see it. I don't care what you can see. I'm telling you, if you get the tools that will allow you to see further, you will see that what you believe is real is not there. So, Rev, back to transsex, or back to autism, because it's only fair. So, why do you now? There is a some sort of mentally handicapped guy who comes by my other job, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see him because he's such a nice guy. He walks around the neighborhood walking his dog occasionally. You can see him. I see him sometimes on the way to the studio. A really nice guy. Has done nothing to ever harm anyone. And the first time I saw him, all I could think was, there are people who exist right now who would want to see this guy put to death. And that's what the Nazis did. And I cannot fathom that lack of humanity. How can you look at another... Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, thank you, hon. Is that what the Nazis did in wartime when things were so tense? And again, I'm not a big fan of the Nazis. I thought Hitler was a bit of an a-hole himself, nowhere near as much of an a-hole as Stalin. But if you had taken an economy, a people, from absolute destruction and desolation in the septic tank, and you were a felon yourself, like with the beer hole push where he wrote Mein Kampf, and you helped take a nation with the help of many others, Goebbels, Himmler, etc., into it being beyond the stratosphere of absolute innovation and mastery of engineering, technology, and whatever, then maybe you would have had to be a bit of a blank hole, too, towards certain people, gays, whatever. And Ernst Röhm was a known homosexual, but Hitler didn't hate or kill.
Hold on, because you're factually incorrect. Germany was not the cutting edge of technology or engineering or anything like that. In fact, you will find that the United States was. And because of that...
Yeah, we're...
Are you under the impression that the Nazis won World War II? Because the fact that we won is ipso facto... No, shut up for a second. Because the fact that we won is ipso facto proof that our engineering was better.
No, it wasn't, hon. We got the atomic bomb scientists from Deutschland and imported them to NASA. You know that. Yes.
And that atomic bomb was engineered by scientists who were in the United States.
Yeah, by a technical...
It's not by a technicality.
Look,
that's the beauty of the United States, is that people migrate here because they want to contribute to this awesome thing that we're creating by working together voluntarily. Well, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Oh, voluntarily, it was Zog putting a gun to your head. Look, I don't want to take your whole show. You're good enough to have me on in my inebriated state. I'm not going to call in for a long time as myself. I promise the viewers they're probably sick of me. But some of them like me, like Foodamatic and White Wolf and whoever. But anyway, listen. All right, the point is that I'm not here to defend Nazis or whatever. I think they did some things right. I think they did some things wrong, but they're better than commie scum. The point being is that autistic man that you're talking about, I've seen people like that as well when I walk around or do whatever near the store. I don't want to kill those people. And you know what? Those people are more useful than a lot of the people that don't want to work or do anything and live off welfare, like a lot of minorities, for instance, right? Not all. There's some hard-working minorities, but the point is I don't want to kill them. I mean, they can't help what the genetic lottery they got in life, no more than you or me or a cis woman or whoever can, right? The point is this. Really quickly, I wanted to talk about there was research done regarding trans suicides post-op, and I know you're not post-op, but I'm just saying, like, you know that there was research done. Was it the Irvis? I'm sorry, I'm too messed up. The Irvis Institute with Deutschland. You can look it up. It's a picture of a woman holding a trans flag, and it was the Irvis or the Irvis Institute in Deutschland in Germany, and they talked about how 70-something% of respondents surveyed said that they felt better after surgery, life was good overall and more fulfilling. And then I could point you to, what is it? I'm going to look at it here, PLOS. Here, try to refute me, and I'll tell you the source. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, tell me the source first, because all I've heard so far was that 70% of trans people post-surgery said that they were happier and their lives had improved. If you had a counterclaim to make, you certainly didn't make it.
I did. I do. World Jewish Congress, Salat al-Janazah. I'll take you off speaker. I want to find it. Are the brains of transgender... Oh, there it is. Speria, PLOS.org. And it's Essen Institute. Okay, I can take you off speaker now. Are the brains of transgender people... Right, so basically there are conflicting studies. I'm so sorry for that, but hey, you got to admit, that's pretty good for being, dead drunk and being able to find that. Essen Institute did a recent... Yeah, Essen Institute did a recent study saying that, trans surgery helps people overall, right, by 71-something% margin. And then that was over a 6-year period now, mind you, Aria, and I'll shut up and let you reply. But PLOS.org, I believe it is, for the medical journal, the Sverige, Swedish study, right? And they're being overrun by low IQ Muslim scum right now due to their acceptance.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'll put you on mute because we're about to go on. I want to address that before we do. There are certainly a lot of transgender and transsexual people who are recommended for surgery who probably would best be served not having bottom surgery. It's not my call to make, but I think that a lot of therapists and counselors and psychologists are being reckless with people's lives by having them convinced that these sort of cosmetic changes are going to make them feel the way they want to feel, and that all they need is for other people to recognize the validity of their identity in order to be a valid individual. And all of that is incorrect.
Are you a sneezer? If you're not, can you get close to one? I don't literally mean someone sneezing. Sneezer, as defined by marketing guru Seth Godin, is an opinion leader. When a sneezer mentions something, other people catch what Godin calls the idea virus. Seth Godin says some people are more likely to tell their friends about a great new idea. So identifying and courting sneezers is a key success factor for idea merchants. His book, Unleashing the Idea Virus, is the most downloaded ebook in history, and you can download the whole book free. That's how he's making his idea contagious. Click tips, tricks, and other stuff to help you cut through the clutter at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,289, silver at $14.99, and Bitcoin is trading around $4,131. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, President Donald Trump's threat to close the southern border was met with criticism and concern from politicians, activists, the public, and Pope Francis. Trump is taking the action, he said, because of what he believes is a crisis in drug smuggling and human trafficking. In remarks to reporters Sunday, Pope Francis said that Trump and people who think the way the U.S. president does about migrants are ultimately trapping themselves in an inhumane situation.
Le persone che preferiscono costruire dei muri.
The comments preceded a tweet made by the Pope Saturday, in which he celebrated the rights of migrants to self-determination. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, speaking to ABC News anchor John Carl Sunday, said that unless something dramatic changed, the closure would happen this week.
Democrats didn't believe us a month ago, 2 months ago, when we said what was happening at the border was a crisis, a humanitarian crisis, a security crisis.
The measure to close the border comes as the Trump administration plans to cut aid to Central American countries, a move that experts argue is almost certain to increase, not curtail, the number of immigrants at the border. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven, fighting for your right to consume plant-based medicine and natural remedies. Find out more at mybravebotanicals.com. And right now, Liberty Beat listeners can save 10% by using promo code SNLS at checkout. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat, online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Actor Nick Cannon has announced that he will be picking up where slain Grammy-nominated artist and documentary filmmaker Nipsey Hussle left off. The Free Thought Project reports that Cannon posted a photo of himself and Hussle to Instagram Monday, noting that Hussle will never be silenced and that he, Cannon, is going to pick up the baton to finish this marathon. Hussle was gunned down in front of his Los Angeles clothing shop Sunday afternoon. He had been working on a documentary about Dr. Sebi and his claims of curing cancer and AIDS, which caused many to speculate that the documentary was the reason for Hussle's murder. Cannon, on Instagram posts, proudly exclaimed that, quote, "They can't kill us all," end quote, and there is, quote, "unfinished king business," end quote. A pro-Israel New York lawmaker has prompted outrage by tweeting that Palestine does not exist, drawing criticisms of racism and Islamophobia. The Mind Unleashed reports the incendiary comments have come under heavy fire on Twitter, and accusations of Islamophobic hypocrisy have been directed at U.S. officials, who have failed to denounce the comments in the same way they denounced Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar. Brooklyn Councilmember Coleman Yeager tweeted, quote, "Palestine does not exist. There, I said it again. Also, Congresswoman Omar is an anti-Semite. Said that too." End quote. Yeager's remark was part of a Twitter exchange with a blog writer. The author of the blog slammed the pro-Israel lawmaker for calling Congresswoman Omar an anti-Semite. Yeager hit back by repeating the racist trope that Palestine does not exist. The remark, along with the notion that there is no such thing as a Palestinian people, is part of a racist narrative that has been used to deny 11 million Palestinians their right to self-determination. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
I know I shouldn't, but these muffins are delicious.
And we'll share our favorite recipes later in the hour, but first our guest says don't give in to road rage, stay calm behind the wheel, and coolly plot your road revenge. Danny Preston is a defensive driving instructor who teaches people how to control their temper behind the wheel. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me. Danny, there's nothing I hate more than getting cut off.
That drives me nuts. I want to scream out my window.
Getting into an argument with a stranger isn't going to accomplish anything but stress you out.
Well, how should you respond instead?
In 1996, some guy gave me the middle finger after I cut him off. I recognized him from TV. That's when I decided to become a defensive driving instructor, developing the skills I needed to eventually be invited on his show as an expert. Now, once you're there, it's just a simple matter of switching out his muffins with the ones you made yourself. How many did you eat?
What? I don't know.
Thank you so much for sharing your tips, Danny.
Danny is not my true name.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, I'm your host, Aria DiMezzo of theanarchistgmail.com. And if you would like to watch later, I'm going to be streaming the video game Smite just after Free Talk Live. Probably will start at about 11 o'clock tonight. You can find that at twitch.tv/Aria DiMezzo. And of course, I'm joined in the studio today by
Chris
and Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
And Chris, you have your own show that you do, correct?
I do. I do a show called Freedom Decrypted on Saturdays, starting at 5 o'clock, going to 7, 8 Eastern, depending on the show. But
sometimes it runs a little long.
You can listen live. Yep, exactly. It's
awesome.
It's more of a podcast-ish show that's live on air. So it's a tech show. So if you're interested in tech and hearing more, especially diving in more to more technical detail and such, than this show, maybe, even though we do a little bit of tech on this show as well.
Yeah, but we don't really get into the deep layers of it, you know?
We don't. It's exclusively tech, so tech and freedom-related, issues, or with a freedom slant, basically, is the show's concept. So, yeah.
I've been kicking around the idea of doing a Twitch-only show, sort of in the vein of Free Talk Live, except I doubt I would do it here, because I doubt Ian wants people dropping by here at 10 o'clock at night just to, do a show randomly on Twitch. But probably like Aria Uncensored or Attack of the Aria or something stupid like that. I mean, because it generally, it would be probably funny, I think, so... Anyway, Rev is with us, and he had one additional comment he wanted to make. I wanted to kick him off the air, actually, but he wants to get this out. Nothing.
You didn't say that in the break. Stop lying, you little trans hussy thing. What I don't know. You're cool. I like you. No, I wanted to give mad cojones to Ian Freeman. We know his real last name. We won't say it. It begins with a B. It won't dox the guy, even though he's been before. And to you, Aria, and to all of you there at LRM, because you have the cojones to listen to some really abrasive points of view, no matter how steeped in fact they may be. It's very rare to have a little local radio/internet station that does this. So I think all of you are doing a good job overall. I'll F off and get off of here, but I just want to say, and I'm not going to call in like this again, I'm just dead drunk, I'm just going to listen from here on out for a while, but the fact of the matter is this, Aria, and you tell me, and you other guy, and you know what, no, I want to pick at Chris, because he's here today, the nice guy, Mr. Styrofoam. Hey, Mr. Styrofoam, let me tell you something. How do you feel? Okay, is it, no, he's a good guy when it comes to technical information. He's just not the... I won't get into that. Chris, let me ask you a question, hon. Okay? You're a fellow LGBTQ whatever deviant too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel? No,
everyone on this show...
and I'll get off here.
Hold on. Everyone on this show is some kind of LGBT.
We're all deviant here.
I know, just like the troll said.
Yeah.
And those are not my Nazi trolls. I don't know which trolls those are. And the trolls know that I'm a little bit of a hey myself. But
They're Arab Andy, and I'm actually formally a member now, so they're leaving us alone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They accepted you. That's good to know. Yeah, they're not our trolls. Anyway, and luckily I have a history with women because most gay men. Why are so many gay men so fat and disgusting these days? When I was born in the late 80s, honey, they were looking like straight up muscle. What?
You had a question for Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ranting. They make us all fat and stupid to placate us. I used to be fat myself. Now I'm hot. Reviler D. All right, I'll go ahead. Chris, do you think it's better if you had kids or if you were to with your partner that accepting Islam? I don't mean Will Coley's Islam, because Will Coley was a good man, and I hope him and his family are okay to this day, even though I say Sig Heil, Brent, and Tarrant for the other Muslims that he killed. But do you think it's better that they would want to push you off a building like you can see on LiveLeak.com in Tajikistan, Afghanistan, etc.? Do you think that backwards, absolutely evangelical, obsessed way of life is going to accept you and accept sodomy? Because they're not. Go ahead.
I don't even know how to do. Like, what?
I'm not joking.
What?
You're not joking.
What are you? What are you getting at?
He's saying
is he suggesting that Will Coley is going to push me off a building or something?
Well, sort of. He's saying that Muslims
what
will.
if they could, Chris? If you lived in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, have you seen LiveLeak.com? Do you want me to send it to Aria? I'm not going to do that, but you want me to send it to Aria on Telegram? They would push your kind and my kind and her kind and Michael's kind, even if there's 1% gay, off buildings. And you support these leftist scum.
Time out. They would not push me off a building because I would shoot them.
Unless they took your firearm by force.
How are they going to do that when I'm shooting at them?
They're going to do that if they're the state, and maybe you'll win and kill a butthole cop or two, whether they're Middle Eastern or white, and I support that. Sig Heil in Minecraft, of course, because I'm a bit of an anti-statist as well. But Aria, if you were in the Islamic State right now, you would be just as clamped down on as those Pakistani women. So don't defecate all over America, despite that it's owned by Zog hook-nosed scum, when they give us rights to say what we want to say.
You know, the problem is that, you know, America, and I'll put that in quotes, at least the government, you know, is kind of taking, in many cases, the same position with certain groups of people. So I don't necessarily look up to the American government, nor do I look up to ISIS, nor do I look up to any particular religion. It's just not. I mean, it's there's a lot of bad people out there, man. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've had people on the alt-right look me dead in the eye and tell me that I should be put to death for being trans, right?
Yes.
So the ideology you're espousing is just as eager to put me to death as the one you're criticizing.
No, I'm not a Nazi. I'm a borderline Nazi, but I'm not. You know why? Because I believe that LGBTQ people, maybe it's my own bias, I don't want to say what I am, but let's just say I have a long history with women, very little with those of the same sex. The point is that I understand the biological realities of it. I understand when dogs, once in a while or whatever, are two male dogs doing this.
Rev, are you struggling with your own homosexuality?
See, I knew you would say that. I knew you would say that. I'm so disgusted by most of the queers. You know, you don't even know, because I used to be fat, dude, and I lost all this weight, and I look hot now. You can see me on Reviler D, Reviler White, Reviler Red, whatever. I'm going to revamp my channels. But the point is, shameless plug, the point is, no, I've gotten my fitness in line. I look very good. People sometimes mistake me for a woman once in a while on the beach, which I won't say. The point is, I understand homosexuality to an extent. I understand gender variance to an extent. And of course, Aria, don't act like a leftist, Aria, and try to, oh, he's a self-hating Nazi like the Democrat and communist.
That is not what I said.
Do, you know,
you seem to deliberately make a point of saying that you have a long history with women, right?
Yeah.
Don't we all? I mean, that's...
Maybe. I guess we do. In this room, in that room you're in. I'm in Florida, but yeah. So look, I'll get off of here. But the point is, Chris, you know what you guys do? Look, and I understand.
Yeah, you never did ask your question, I don't think.
He did not, or did?
You didn't, I don't believe. Did you ask the question?
I didn't answer his question.
You didn't ask.
Hey, man.
You didn't ask him your question.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, how do you feel about not the good few Muslims out there like Will Coley and his family, and I hope he's listening. Sig heil to Will. I like Will. How do you feel about all the pieces of camel feces, okay, that want to push your kind off buildings, my friend, and all of our kind? How do you feel about your individualism and your stupid autistic, oh, everybody's a person at that point, okay? How do you feel about that, pal?
I think
what is this autistic thing that you keep going off about? Do you know what that word even means?
Push homosexuals off buildings in Saudi Arabia.
Rev.
You think that's funny?
I'm not going to put down an entire group of people simply because there are people in that group that are
yeah.
Rev.
that are bad. I don't even want to say bad people, but have bad ideas.
Stick around with us just a bit more, Rev, because I want to point out to you, I can't wait to clip that particular segment because you sound exactly like Gia. And I know you know what that means. Most people don't. Gia is this hardcore leftist who says things like that from the other point of view, but it's just as vitriolic and it's just as incorrect. This is the Call to Freedom.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. You get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you, would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Oh,
All right, welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, you're invited to give us a call. That number is 603-283-6160. Once more, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. Now, we just got off the phone with Rev, who, I mean, we had him on for a good hour.
Oh, my, that was, it was
really
about an hour.
But, I mean, he was drunk, and he kept being entertaining. Even the last part was entertaining, with him yelling and screaming and clearly losing his ability to put forward his argument.
Yeah, he was a little less than coherent there.
But, you know, as I was saying before we went out, I'm looking forward to clipping that particular segment.
Oh, yeah.
And putting it alongside one of the Gia clips and just playing them back to back, because the similarities should hopefully cause him to be taken a bit aback. I would hope. But
maybe after he sobers up.
Yeah. I don't know what in God's name we were talking about prior to that.
We were actually talking about Bitcoin.
No, we had moved on from that.
We moved on from that.
We were talking about the Constitution and the 10th Amendment and the Electoral College. Nothing super interesting. There's stuff about Joe Biden to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And whether or not
Uncle Joe.
Yeah, whether or not he's lost his grasp on reality. He hasn't lost his grasp on the boobs of random women, from what I hear.
No, he's.
I mean, wasn't that him that was? What's that? Ariana Grande? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Wasn't that him in the video or picture with her where he was like trying to cop a feel and you could see her like pulling away?
Yeah, he apparently that's what he does. He comes around behind women and grabs their boobs and sniffs their hair.
Sniffs their hair?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, he's got a thing for hair, I guess.
I have somebody continually requesting pictures of my feet.
You know, people have got their own little kinks, and that's fine. It's just he doesn't actually like. Apparently, he doesn't think he needs to get consent before he does this.
Well, is sniffing someone's hair a violation?
Probably not the sniffing the hair thing. It's weird, but certainly the
grabbing
touching
of the
of the
boobs when you
breasts
do it is a little bit.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah, that's definitely going to violate someone's bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
But I think technically speaking, sniffing the hair wouldn't, sure, because the odor molecules are traveling off of the hair or whatever.
Yeah,
now, if you get your nose all up in their hair and
that's
all
what
of that,
he's doing. He's getting his. I mean, there are pictures of this all over the internet.
Wait a minute. Are we really having a discussion on the taboo of touching a woman's breasts?
This is the Call to Freedom. Yes, we are.
Or the level of the taboo. So is it what level of terrible is it? I mean, is it like
to cop a feel and grab a
to cop a
boobs?
feel? Yeah. What level of terrible is it?
I don't know. Like on 1 to 10?
Yeah, like on 1 to 10. I mean, is it worse than say hitting another human being or
in and of itself, I would say it's probably about a 6.5.
6.5.
The larger issue is that historically it is a problem because men have been historically entitled to these things.
So what about giving somebody a hug?
I am a firm advocate that a person should be able to give or deny consent to a hug.
Okay, so on a level of 1 to 10, how bad is it?
To hug somebody against
without
their will?
permission? Yeah.
Without their permission.
Without asking first.
Well, there's a big difference between feeling a chick's boobs
is there?
And giving her a hug.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that, because it depends on what the other person, it's the individual, right? I may have no problem with you copying a feel of my breasts if I don't have breasts, but if I did, but I might be upset if you hugged me.
Okay.
There are some people out there that just do not want to be touched at all, except maybe by their very closest.
That's how I am. I hate being touched.
So the question is, you think it's a 6.5, which seems to me to be pretty high, pretty extreme.
Well, because there are.
So what would you do a hug? What would you rate that as on the terrible scale?
I'm getting that. Probably a 5.
Okay, so it's actually pretty close. It's actually not too.
Well, there are sexual implications to cupping a feel of a woman's breast.
Okay, what are the sexual
that are not
implications?
present with the hug.
Let's hear the argument.
Well, there is. I mean, we are biologically, programmed to be attracted to women's breasts. It is an overtly sexual thing.
Sure. Okay, so because it's sexual, where a hug presumably isn't, I guess,
hugs are not necessarily.
It makes it worse.
Hugs are not necessarily sexual.
Okay, fair enough. So it makes it worse if it's sexual than if it's not sexual.
What about? Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It makes it worse if it's sexual.
I don't know. I don't know if I would. I think
I would say a hug where you walk up behind them
path.
and you give them a hug and you reach around and grab a handful of their butt. I would put that at a 6.5 as well.
I mean,
maybe even higher, since at that point you have them kind of clasped.
Neither has any kind of lasting damage. So it seems to me like I would put both of those on a very low scale in terms of terrible. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's acceptable or appropriate.
Well, no, you're not physically harming their body, but you are emotionally causing them trauma.
Yeah, but at the same time, you could be emotionally causing somebody trauma by looking at them like in a particular way, or somebody who doesn't like hugs, but has no problem with you feeling their breasts. It could be worse for them if you hug them than if you fondle their breasts.
Well, maybe for the rare individual, that would be true. But for most people, they would absolutely rather be hugged than fondled.
Yeah, I'm sure you're probably right.
And I mean, that's all we have to really go on when we make these sorts of statements, are these generalities. I mean, sure, there are people out there who want to be hit, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that you should assume that the person you're going to hit likes it,
Yeah.
People generally prefer pleasure to pain. That's just one of the rules that we have to assume is true of people when we go about our daily lives. And we also would generally assume that people would rather be hugged than to have their breasts felt out by a stranger. And most people wouldn't want to be hugged by a stranger either.
Oh, well,
I think that depends on the sex problem.
I mean, you can get your sign and
if we're talking about
hugs
generalities here.
Yeah.
I bet you most guys wouldn't have a problem with a woman going up to them and fondling them, for example. But on the other hand, if you did that in reverse, I think a woman, most, if we're talking about generalities here, most women would.
Right, because there is that historical power element to it, where throughout most of human history, a man could, if he so wanted, cop a feel on an unmarried young woman, and essentially, Lord Byron wrote several poems about it, and he wasn't the only one. I mean, he would actually run into the river where people were bathing in Scotland. It wasn't Lord Byron; it was somebody else whose name escapes me right now. He would run. It was the guy who wrote "Auld Lang Syne." He would run into the river while these women were crossing it, not bathing, and he would lift up their skirts over their heads and get a nice look. And it was just it was quirky behavior. Right, even for the time, that was a quirky thing to do, but he was allowed to do it. Nobody arrested him for sexual assault. He wasn't demonized by a #MeToo movement, and he should have been, but he wasn't, because historically, that has generally been the case, that men could do things like that and get away with it because women had no recourse to do anything about it. So that power element, that drastic imbalance comes into play when it comes to women offering random hugs to men versus men randomly hugging women. This is the Call to Freedom.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
No, I can understand the time cue, but what I know is wiser than anything else. Like God created one day, I've created 4 simultaneous days in one rotation of Earth.
At what point did you become the wisest human, Gene Ray?
Well, I've learned everything. When you know everything, there's nothing to know.
Okay, well, now, you said you're getting ready to write a book on it. When can we expect to see it?
No, I don't have a publisher yet. A lot of morning touch it, and so...
you touch it in the morning?
Well, sometimes, not much.
Yeah. How old are you, Dr. Gene Ray?
I'm 78. Well, I told this black lady down in St. Pete, I said, when you die, you're going to come back as a white person. I said, I'm going to come back as a black person. I'm going to hate you honkies.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa, whoa.
Hey,
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait a minute.
Forget it.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me.
What
am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Two people tried to get through a moment ago, but I actually can't screen the calls while on the air, and the studio owner / producer actually isn't in the studio to do that for us, so you're just going to have to sit on hold until we get to a break, and they weren't evidently willing to do that. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines at discord.lrn.fm, where we will probably go ahead and take your call, given that we have some sort of awareness of who you are at that point.
If you want to troll us, you do it on Discord or be very patient.
Yeah, one of the two. But we've been talking about Joe Biden, but I'd actually like to move on to that because there's another interesting thing going on related to subjects that we've talked about here on the show. And that is Microsoft announcing that it's shutting down its ebook program and it's going to confiscate its customers' libraries.
Oh, yeah.
Standard operating procedure.
Yep. This is the issue with the Kindle and with as much as I love Steam, it's the issue with Steam gaming as well.
Yes.
If they ever shut down the program, you lose access to your library.
Or even part thereof.
Yeah.
Because they can discontinue.
They can.
Yeah, they can just turn it off.
You
And
know, parts of it.
Can't play anymore.
Or certain games.
Yeah. It's definitely problematic. Of course, you can always then go to the Pirate Bay and download a crack that will allow it to continue working, which is what I would recommend people do, right? But
there may be limitations nowadays because games are tied into particular servers and such, and you can't set your own server up to play.
Well, it would certainly hinder online play, since that's one of the things that Steam does best, is that it connects people together to play online.
Right, but if the game doesn't even have support for entering your own IP addresses and servers, you wouldn't be able to play without the centralization.
That's true.
Servers. So even if you had a cracked version, you probably are not going to be able to play the game with others.
Yeah. But Microsoft has a DRM-locked ebook store, and it's not making enough money, so they're shutting it down and taking away every book that every one of its customers acquired, effective July the 1st.
Yeah, I think this is fraudulent advertising and misleading consumers. When you click buy, you're not really buying the product.
Yeah, you don't get that because it's locked up with the DRM, and they can take it away from you whenever they want.
And they do. They will literally basically connect to your machine and delete those ebooks off your devices. And we've seen that time and time again. That companies like Amazon will, they didn't have the right licensing for the book, and they'll just go in and they'll delete 1984, for example, was one example that happened a while back.
Yeah, that one was pretty
which
ridiculous.
is kind of humorous.
Did they? I was not aware they had done that with 1984.
Yeah,
they
deleted
edition of it from one seller.
Yeah, it was Amazon, and they deleted it from basically anybody who had downloaded it, and they deleted it from their I guess their Kindles, because they basically found out that somebody who had partnered with them to release that book didn't have the rights to it or something to that effect.
Interesting.
So they decided, well, we don't have the rights to it. We're gonna delete it off of your machine, even though it's like you sold it and you should be liable for it. At that point, not
you would hope.
Yeah,
right.
You shouldn't be able to just go and take the book back. I mean,
But customers will receive refunds, so that's good at least.
Yeah, at least they're giving refunds. I mean, that kind of sort of makes up for it.
I don't know it does,
but it's still.
This
shouldn't
lost.
have happened in the first place.
It's still misleading in terms of them giving you the impression that you bought something.
Yeah, I agree with Chris on that, and I think I've said that in regard to Steam before, that they should change that button where it doesn't say buy or purchase, it should say lease or license.
Or rent. Rent is probably the most closest equivalent.
Subscribe.
It puts the difference between unencumbered media and DRM locked media into sharp contrast. They say they've bought a lot of MP3s over the years, thousands of them, and many of the retailers are gone, but they still have the MP3s. Likewise, they bought many books from long-defunct booksellers and even defunct publishers, but they still own those books.
Right.
Well, books are definitely going to be different because they are physical hard copies, right?
Yeah. But you don't necessarily have to have DRM for an ebook. There's plenty of ebooks out there that are not DRM locked in the first place, and there's actually a pirate site specifically for ebooks.
You know what I wonder is if they're violating the Computer Crimes and Abuse Act or something.
The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, 86?
Yeah, something like that.
In what way?
Well, if they're going and they're deleting something from a Kindle or similar device or from your machine, I mean, essentially, you didn't give them permission to do that. So
that's true.
Theoretically, it could be a violation of federal law.
Question for a lawyer, I guess.
Well, I imagine there is something within their license agreement when you sign up for the service or when you buy the book or whatever.
In the fine print, maybe.
Yeah, in the fine print, no one
it's
reads.
possible.
Because their attorneys have almost certainly thought about that.
Well, so if that's the case, then it's probably would fall under. I'm trying to think what the organization is. That's FTC, Federal Trade Commission for misleading advertising.
It's definitely misleading.
Yeah.
They should do something about that.
Although
definitely.
the FTC seems to think that if it's in the fine print, it's okay, but that seems kind of messed up to me. If you say one thing and then in the fine print you put something else, you would think that would be in their prerogative to enforce or say no, you can't do that. Certainly, they have. I think in other circumstances. I recall in the 90s. I think they did something with free computers or cheap computers, but you had to subscribe for like AOL or something for like 2 years or something like that. And I think they said that it might have been
that was e-machines, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe either it was that or it might have been. I might be thinking of another situation where the financing had something to do with the financing or something.
I'm pretty sure it was e-machines where you could you could get a computer for like almost nothing or actually free if you had like a 2-year subscription to AOL or
right. And they came in and they said something to the effect of this is like false or misleading advertising and you can't do this, despite the fact the fine print said you had to sign up for 2 years of internet access.
Of course, e-machines is no longer around.
Did somebody buy them?
HP did.
HP bought them? Yeah.
Gateway bought e-machines and then HP bought Gateway.
Yeah, I can't really. I forgot about that. I knew somebody who actually was an executive on the board for e-machines, which is why I was kind of curious. Yeah.
But people sometimes, God, they wrote this in first-person perspective. That's really jarring. I really wish they had not done that. But let's see if I can parse this out. They sometimes treat her like her decision to not sell books through Amazon's Audible is irrational because Audible will not let writers or publishers opt out of DRM to sell their books. And they say if you think Amazon is immune to these kinds of shenanigans, you are sadly mistaken. Not true. You can opt out via Amazon. I know that having published on Amazon with books for sale on Amazon right now called Dancing in Hellfire. There's also one called Dead or Alive.
That's interesting. I know
you can do DRM free for ebooks, but not for Audible.
I know the music on Amazon was DRM free for a long time. I don't know if it still is, but
yeah, they did sell it. They did let you download actual MP3s for a while.
Yeah, for music.
Yeah, there was Amazon Music. There still is.
Is it? Do you know
a service more like Spotify?
Is it still DRM free for the music?
Well, it's a streaming service more like Spotify.
Oh, okay,
now.
so they replaced. They no longer have
I don't think you can buy MP3
purchasing
albums
of MP3s, so to speak.
Right. You buy a subscription and you sort of instantaneously.
No, I'm sure that's probably got some sort of DRM in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know that it does. Spotify's did, and I certainly got around theirs today because they were idiots.
Getting around it still doesn't mean it doesn't have it. It just means you got around it.
But I mean, it streams just fine, which is shocking considering it's a streaming service. You know, I would expect them to have some sort of, background task that actually checks to see if I am in fact a verified subscriber. But they evidently don't. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with more of this discussion in just a moment.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. Welcome to our final segment here on the show. Maybe you really like the show and would like to know what you can do to show your support. Well, social media shares certainly go a long way, but so does cash. And you can do so on Patreon at patreon.com/call-to-freedom. Our wonderful sponsors there are currently helping to keep the show up and running, including both the podcast at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. Actually, just the podcast right now. The site actually is down. As a result of me not paying the invoice. To be fair, it has to be paid in Bitcoin, and my phone is like legit broken. The phone that has all of my spendable cryptocurrency on it is broken, so I can't just send them Bitcoin at the moment. And, anyway, we can't thank them enough for their support. Once more, that's patreon.com/call-to-freedom if you would like to check it out. So we've been talking about copyright and intellectual property and what they call digital rights management. That is really just digital restrictions management.
Yep.
It's a producer telling you what you can and cannot do with something that you have purchased from them.
Yeah, you want to watch that DVD? The DRM decides whether you get to play it.
Does it?
Yeah. That's what what it's all about. It's about preventing you from playing that DVD if the cartel doesn't want you to. And the criteria that they use is whether you're in the right part of the world.
Oh, yeah. Region locking is definitely a thing of the past, but it's being phased out.
Yeah. True.
Is it?
Well,
it's becoming irrelevant.
In gaming, it's being phased out. I don't know about movies. I don't watch movies.
As far as I know, Blu-rays are still
region locked.
Yeah.
Well, so are some games. It is being phased out though, in the sense that fewer and fewer games actually utilize it.
I know that Netflix is trying to phase out the region restrictions from their service, but I don't necessarily know that the entertainment industry is as a general rule. And I know the EU is also trying to phase it out within the European Union or European Economic Area, at least.
Well, they also curtail free speech there on the basis of copyright infringement.
They do?
Yeah, they're nuts.
Did you not
there.
hear they passed that Article 13 garbage?
Yes. Yeah, I believe we talked about it on the last episode of Freedom Decrypted.
Where can people listen to that?
FreedomDecrypted.com. Saturdays, it's a live show at 5 o'clock. And if you're not listening live, there's also a podcast. There's Og Vorbiz you can download, or MP3, or actual video file. So
very cool.
Actually, there's two different video files. One's VP9 as well, if you're technical.
Yeah.
It's a what?
VP9. I believe it's VP9 Web or WebM or something like that.
VP9 Web.
It's basically like a non-patent encumbered video format.
I'm familiar with WebM, but I wasn't familiar with that one.
Yeah, isn't WebM's the container and VP9 is the video format?
Yeah, there's like VP8, VP9. There might be a VP10, and then there's also I'm trying to think. I feel like there's some others too even now, but yeah.
So, is there anything that a person can do if Microsoft deletes their books?
They can stop using Microsoft Windows or Microsoft whatever or Apple whatever. Or there are options. There are services out there. I can't name them off the top of my head personally, but there are services out there that let you search for DRM-free ebooks. And certainly there's apparently Amazon. Well, no, I shouldn't say Amazon. Amazon used to have
Genesis.
music. But there's certainly some music ones too, sites where you can download and buy music that's not DRM, and as well as games, good old games. Actually, they've got videos too at Good Old Games.
Do they?
GOG, yeah.
Very cool. I knew they had games that they were completely DRM free. The Witcher 2 actually released on
the movies they have are game themed movies though, so it's not a huge selection, but
interesting.
Yeah,
because everybody expected The Witcher 2 to be just ultra pirated because it was being released simultaneously on GOG without any DRM whatsoever.
Huh.
And it turned out that almost no one pirated it.
Yeah, you know, if no one pirates your movie, is it any good?
Well, I mean,
it's a game, and the game is
the
freaking
reason
great.
people pirate stuff though tends to be because the entity which is releasing it does not have they've got stuff that people don't like DRM on it, or they've priced it at some amount that just doesn't work for the majority of their customer or potential customer base.
Yeah, gaming is really bad about that, releasing games at $60 and things like that honestly probably won't work, especially if you're a PC player, and if it does work, it's going to crash.
Yeah, so part of the problem is it's sort of in a sense it's greed, because you can get now if you charge say 1 cent, you're probably not going to have any piracy or near any piracy, but at the same time, unless you're doing other stuff like DRM and the process as well, maybe then there would be piracy. But assuming you're not doing DRM and you charge 1 cent, you're going to get a lot of people, and there's a certain equation at a certain point, you're going to make more money if you charge 1 cent, or you might make more money if you charge $100 for the game. And you have to kind of evaluate that, and I think a lot of companies don't take into effect that sometimes it's better to not charge $100 because they'll actually make more if they charge $50 or $20, and they actually have more people legitimately, so to speak, purchasing or contributing to their
gaming
coffers.
companies certainly don't have that mentality. To them,
they don't.
No, they want all of the money.
They consider every pirated copy a lost sale, which is sort of true, but only if they set the price at an amount that actually is affordable, basically.
And they haven't figured that out yet, because getting all the money means doesn't necessarily mean making the price as high as possible.
Right.
I mean, it's not even true either that a pirated copy is a lost copy because my Steam... Yeah, that's what I meant. My Steam library is filled with games that I initially pirated and have since bought. The difference was precisely that either A, I wanted to test out the game and wait until it was a functional product until I actually paid for it, which seems fair to me.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
If I'm going to beta test their game for them, I'm not going to pay them for the honor of doing it. Or B, their price point was too high, like with Skyrim. I was totally unwilling to pay $60 for it, but when the Game of the Year edition released, the Legendary edition with all of the DLC and everything for $40...
You know what's kind of interesting is they actually kind of recognize, the industry kind of recognizes it because that's the whole point of having different regions. Because by having different regions, they can charge different prices. And so they're recognizing in that process that not everybody can afford what people in the United States pay for, say, a video.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't necessarily about affording it or not affording it. It's just I have better things to do with $60 than buy this game that won't work until 6 months from now.
Yeah, right. But I'm just saying that they're really recognizing that they can make more money off certain groups of people in certain regions because they have more disposable income and not so much off the other regions. Therefore, if they introduce DRM, they can maximize their profits.
So region locking is a method that they use to make us pay $60 for the game that we could pay $17 for.
Yes, because the same game in other well, I don't know about games so much, but definitely videos. In the whole reason for it is because in other regions like Africa, for example, they will charge less for the DVDs that are locked to that region because the population has less money, less disposable income. If they charge the same amounts as they do in the United States, they would have zero sales, basically.
Yeah, they do this with books, too.
That's how they maximize their profits.
They do it with books, too. I've seen books, and I actually have some that are printed on the inside cover, something like, not to be sold outside of India and Pakistan.
Yep. Yeah, books are like that as well.
Interesting. I never really considered that aspect of region locking.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily.
I just assumed that it was about language or some kind of
DRM is not really about preventing piracy. It's really more about maximizing profits. They know it's going to get cracked, and their objective is to reduce the number of people who make copies of, say, a movie, or prevent an entity from importing copies from overseas and being able to sell them locally. Because if the person who wants to do the importing for the cheaper DVDs overseas knows they can't sell them, say, in the United States, well, the company that produced the movie will make more money.
That's depressing.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I would have liked to have assumed that, it was just about language or culture or localization or something like that needed to be done prior to the importing of books and movies.
It's about maximizing revenue.
Yeah.
Corporate greed.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that certainly sucks, but I don't think any of the games I'm currently playing are actually region locked. But this has been the call to freedom. We agree they are trying to take away our physical property, but there's nothing we can do about it right now. But this has been the Call to Freedom. It's been a great show. Thanks for listening, and don't go anywhere because Free Talk Live is coming up next.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen